All right, all right. We are back with the show. It really feels like it's been an eternity, you know? We went from doing the show every week twice to doing it. I think the last one was 4 or 5 weeks ago. So it's been some time. How are you guys doing? How have you been? I think a lot has happened since then, especially with the market, right? We are in a roller coaster actively. We are riding it as we move along. But I think it's quite an exciting journey. And what we're here to talk about today is, first of all, to answer all of your questions. I just looked before and it's like 100 questions. So that's very exciting. We're going to set aside as much time as we need. Maybe we can get some questions also from the YouTube comment section. Maybe afterwards. Let's figure it out. But yeah, like I think a lot has happened since we last spoke, right? If I were to describe the current sort of market sentiment, I would say it's sort of at a standstill, right? Everybody's waiting for the summer to sort of be over. Everybody's ready for the summer, first of all, waiting to go on holidays. Big investors, big funds, also obviously team members within the foundation, they're all taking time off over the summer, well-deserved time off, because it's been a crazy Q1 and a crazy Q2, and getting ready for September and to really be refreshed and to move forward. Obviously, we are a pretty big organization with 160 people now. We've grown quite a lot this year, by the way. It's quite amazing. So yeah, we're close to 160 people right now. So some people will take off in July and August, and other people will obviously continue to work. Like, it's not like the lights go out. But if I were to describe the current market, it's really about staying focused on building. Right? It's less hype, it's less announcements, and it's more working behind the scenes, because there's obviously a lot of development that is currently happening, and it has to happen for this next movement. Many funds are looking at this space quite excited, and especially some of the large traditional funds, if we can call them that, are really getting excited about this whole crypto space. And it's not just about yield opportunities, right, which have really proven themselves with DeFi, but it's also about fundamentals, and fundamentals are proven by building, by getting adopted, by showing that you're here for the long term, and that you're not just a Dogecoin or a baby Dogecoin that is there to be pumped at the mercy of a few tweets. It's really about long-term sustainability and about staying focused on what is most important. And what is most important is progress. And you only achieve progress by building. So I would say we at the IOTA Foundation, and also very excitingly, the IOTA community, have been really focused heads down in building. And there's been some really exciting applications being built, even tooling, right? PHP library, amazing contributions on all of the open source projects that we have on GitHub, and also some fun new projects like IOTA memes. I must say, over the last few weeks, I think when Elon Musk tweeted that Dogecoin has the best memes, it sort of like caused the IOTA meme quality to really go up exponentially. and I really enjoy the fun that we're all having. Even with the prices down, right? Nobody cares. We are here for the long term. We're here to really build something fundamental, and to deliver value to the real world, because everything else will follow that. And why not have fun building together with all of you, and have fun with the memes while we are enjoying the ride. Because at the end of the day, nobody can predict the market. Nobody can really know how all of this is going to continue. All we can do is to move on and to carry on with the progress. So with that said, let's jump into the AMA. Let me share my screen. I haven't done this in a long time. Bear with me. All right. Let me make it bigger. Let me go here. It says 99 questions. That's actually really good. Let me read out. 102 now, yes. So let's jump in. I'm not used to talking so much, you know. I'm already now struggling after 5 minutes. Let's start with the first question. I heard some things about changing courtside consensus to multiverse on tangle voting. Will there be some official communication for this? Also, does this delay courtside in any sense? So first of all, yes, you heard right. We are actually changing the consensus. And why are we changing the consensus? Maybe let's take a step back on how courtside is currently built, right? And there's different components that make up courtside. And one of those crucial components is obviously FPC, which is sort of being utilized as this meta stability break and is really there for the consensus within the system. Then we have mana, then we have rate control, access control, the networking layer, and all of these different components were sort of built together within the GoShimmer client. Right? What was the IOTA 2.0 DevNet release was basically all of these different components that make up the IOTA 2.0 solution, where for the first time ever really combined in a sort of working solution, right? In a functional distributed ledger network. That is why we were so excited about this IOTA 2.0 DevNet release, because it was really for the first time that we could see all of those different components fit together in a practical environment for us to be tested and for us to be analyzed. If you think about a distributed ledger solution, all of you know about those infamous white papers where you have complex math that proves the system, that proves the sort of parameters of the system theoretically on that white paper. But this white paper then obviously needs to be translated into code. And this was this long process over the last few years where the theoretical research behind IOTA 2.0, with the peer review, with the research collaborations that we had to be translated into code, into a functional node software, and for us to have a functional network, right? And that's exactly what happened with IOTA 2.0. Now, when it comes to the DevNet, there was several sort of intentions for us to launch this network. First of all, it was obviously for the community to really be able to participate. Anybody could spin up a node, could do transactions, could experience this future of IOTA 2.0 with tokenization, with digital assets, and all of that. And also obviously start building on top of it. And the other more important reason why we wanted to launch it is to really test it out in the real world. And as we saw, as we were testing the network, there were some things that, first of all, had to be improved, like parameters had to be changed. There were things that had to be simplified to make the implementation process shorter and to also simplify the protocol in general. Because even if you are able to implement the protocol, most of the vulnerabilities in the end will happen in the implementation side, right? You can theoretically attest that it's secure, but if it's a very complex protocol that is difficult to implement, you're going to run at risk that there's going to be some implementation bugs, right? And this is exactly why our team, after the launch of the network, had some intensive sessions. I think they spent like 2 weeks, nearly daily, talking about the solution, talking about what should be improved and what should be changed. And in the end, they came to the conclusion that we should change the consensus to untangle voting and use FPC as sort of this meta stability break and completely remove what was called FCOP. Wait, let me actually show you guys. Oh, I think it's actually described here. So what you see here is actually the conclusion that the team came to in terms of what should be changed for IOTA 2.0. So we are very excited about this because untangled voting is sort of this pure tangle, this pure vision of IOTA, as it was defined in the first white paper. And we are very comfortable now in utilizing this solution. If you guys remember the Sergey versus Hans debate, where Hans was always about Multiverse, which is untangled voting, and Sergey was always about FPC. Now we're sort of combining both solutions into what we really perceive as the most optimal way to move forward. And the only way that we could get to this stage is to really try it out in the real world, because you can always come up with different arguments on each side. At the end of the day, you have to test it out in the real world to prove some arguments wrong, and to together come up with the best sort of solution to move forward. And this is exactly where we think that this new approach, or like let's say this refined approach, is really a much better approach to the consensus in IOTA 2.0. So for those of you who are really into the hardcore explanations, you can go on IOTA Cafe, or you can also go to Tangle Math to understand this better. Right now, wait, let me drink. Right now, we are finishing up the definition of this as well. And so I think over the next few weeks, we're going to write a sort of update status blog post, so you guys can also understand what we are going to improve, what we're going to simplify, and also what we're going to change with the consensus, and why this is better, right? And the main intention here was obviously to speed up the development, speed up the implementation, to simplify the protocol, and to make the protocol more robust and also more scalable. And we are very confident that this new approach helps us to achieve that. Maybe in August or so, we can get Hans and Billy and maybe even Sergey onto the show, so we can actually discuss this in more detail. Because obviously, I can't talk about the very technical nuances of this stuff. But overall, maybe a quick status update on IOTA 2.0, but I think there's like a few of those questions. Like where we stand with IOTA 2.0, the network has been live. It performed really well from a use case perspective, right? Showing what IOTA 2.0, what this vision of IOTA 2.0 entails, which is smart contracts, which is tokenization. So that was really a big success to showcase how this core protocol can be augmented and enhanced with tokenization, with output types, to really give you this programmability also on layer one. So I think that was very exciting. And right now, what the team is looking at is really building the new node solution, not just in Go Shimmer, which is like a research prototype, but also build it in Rust and in B and in Hornet, basically. So now the B and the Hornet team are already working together with the Go Shimmer and the research team to get like a full status update on the current approach, also with the new untangled voting, and to start refactoring the Go Shimmer code base, or to start implementing some of the components in Rust. So that has already started, and we already started to sort of re-implement the node now, or re-implement those components where we are certain that they will not change, like for example, the networking layer, and then to start basically implement the new untangled voting scheme in Go Shimmer so that it can be tested in the real world again. And to then, when we are finalized with the specs there, to then start implementing it in Hornet and in B. Obviously, components that are built in Go Shimmer can be reused in Hornet and so on and so forth. But this is basically the current status update, where everybody is focused on improving the Go Shimmer code base, validating some of those new concepts like untangled voting, and to then also start to implement it in the new code base in Rust and in Hornet. That's basically the current status update of it. I think the most important thing out of all of this is that the entire team is really, really confident in this approach. Because before there was some uncertainty where everybody sort of came to the conclusion, we have to test this out in the real world and to see what works and what doesn't. And now with the IOTA 2.0 launch, we were able to prove and disprove some of these arguments. So I think that the main objective there has been achieved, and now it's about implementing it in the new code base, basically. Next question: why the big exchanges are trying to look other side when it comes to listing IOTA? It's a very difficult question to answer simply. I think there's multiple reasons. First of all, IOTA doesn't really play part of the current narratives. If you look at some of the recent listings of Coinbase, either it's some of their Coinbase Ventures investments, or it's some connections that they have otherwise, or it's meme coins or DeFi coins, right? And when it comes to listing IOTA, it's not as simple as doing an ERC20 token where you simply have to just connect the smart contract and to read the state out of it, right? It's not that simple. And when it comes to those big exchanges, many of them have really long development timelines. So we're speaking with some of them, and we're already getting some, let's say, later this year or early next year timelines, which is obviously fine, but nothing is certain in this market, right? Things always take longer than expected, and at the end of the day, right now we should really stay focused on making sure that we basically build up our own community and build up our own ecosystem without being dependent on others to make IOTA a big success, because quite frankly, we don't need it, right? We are doing everything possible to get listed, to get to partner up with them, to engage with them. But I think our current priority should be on the ecosystem, should be to build, should be to extend the core of IOTA, to launch smart contracts, to launch real products, and to get real adoption, right? And that's sort of also been our shift in focus, really to focus on empowering all of you to build. Because I think through that, we really show that IOTA is one of the largest ecosystems. And with that, those exchanges and those custodians cannot look the other way and can list IOTA. Hi Dom, hoping you could elaborate on how you see the mana generation usage working in 2.0. Will we generate mana simply by having tokens in the Firefly wallet? And if so, how could the mana be used, sold if we wanted to just hodl? I'm hoping there may be a mechanism where us holders could generate passive income or increase our holdings through selling mana. Also, thanks for the AMA. The comms have felt a little less frequent in recent months. I missed the weekly IOTA talks. Yeah, first of all, the last point, I definitely agree. Maybe we should really try to do these bi-weekly, because these IOTA talks and the AMAs really help a lot. They just felt a little bit repetitive before, because we were getting the same amount of questions. And yeah, let's maybe try to do them bi-weekly moving forward. So I'll try and do another one before the end of July. To your questions. Okay, now I have to read it again. I'm joking. Basically, when it comes to mana, you will be able to, our intention with mana is to make it as simple as possible for everybody to actively generate it, right? So we have something called delegation keys. So you can delegate your tokens, you can pledge them to a node to generate mana for you. And with that mana, you can obviously sell. You can either sell it or you can either use it yourself. So yes, you will be able to do it within the Firefly wallet when it's ready. And as I already said, the intention is to make it as simple as possible. So you just click a button and all the complexity is basically taken care of. When it comes to selling mana, I think that is a very exciting topic and is a very exciting, I would also say, experiment that we should all really experience together, because at the end of the day, we can all just make assumptions of how the mana marketplace will work, but we have to see how it works in the real world. And it will be really amazing, and it will definitely be possible to generate passive income with your IOTA token holdings, either through staking, either through lending, or through some other mechanisms. And when it comes to selling mana, this is something that we have to experiment with, see how it plays out in the real world. And like, I don't want to give false promises that this is going to be a given, that you're going to make X amount of dollars per month on your IOTA token holdings. We have to see how it plays out in the real world, and how it will look like, and then go from there, basically. But when it comes to generating passive income with IOTA tokens, that will definitely happen, especially with smart contracts and this whole ecosystem that we're basically building on top of IOTA. Will enable that. So yeah. Hey Dom, how is the IOTA 2.0 DevNet going? Are people happy with performance, security, and stability? What will be the next steps in its development? Will it become incentivized? I think I kind of answered that already, right? I think in general, it's working as intended. I personally used it a lot, especially sending around like 100 Zen tokens by hand, not with any script. It's really fun to use, and it's kind of crazy to think about that it's fully decentralized, that transactions confirm in a couple of seconds, and obviously we can improve that even further, and that you don't have to pay any transaction fees for anything. Like just last week, I got some USDC, the stablecoin, and then I realized I had no ETher token, right? So I had a bunch of tokens in my wallet, but I couldn't transfer them because I had no gas. So it was kind of a funny dilemma, having to ask others for some gas so you can transfer around tokens. I just see the beauty of IOTA and the simplicity of IOTA. So people are very happy with it. We also get very great feedback from our corporate partners that have tried it out, also from the community. I think they're very happy. There were some not vulnerabilities, but there were some bugs that actually led to a consensus failure, which is exactly the issue that we described before, and which led also to this solution here. But the network is running right now, and there's some people building on it already. And the next phase in the development, as I already said before, is right now we are basically getting most of the people that worked on Hornet and on B to focus on IOTA 2.0 to get the status update on the solution, the specs, everything, and then to either improve the Go Shimmer code base or to work on re-implementing it in the Hornet or in the B code base. Obviously not code base, but like re-implemented in Go or in Rust. And other than that, the main objective at the moment is to implement on-tangle voting, which is really not that far away, because we are basically removing what was in the code base before, like FCOP, and we are just adjusting a few things there. So I hope that we will have the on-tangle voting relatively soon. And then we can test it out in the IOTA 2.0 DevNet again, see how it works, how it functions, and then obviously start to implement it in Go and in Rust. That's sort of the current timeline. When it comes to the incentivized testnet, we had some ideas on how to do that. Right now, we're waiting for the new consensus to be integrated, right, on tangle voting, and after that, we can see how we will move forward with the incentivized testnet. As I said, we had some ideas, and let's see how and when we can announce them. Next question. Hi Dom, could you elaborate on why exactly IOTA has intrinsic value outside of speculation? Ooh, I like that. The main narrative currently seems to be that using IOTA is simply the most efficient way of transferring value within the network. No third parties, no additional bookkeeping, no transaction fees after all. But from a business point of view, I do not see these advantages making up for the one huge disadvantage that IOTA has: the wild swings in value. After more than 10 years into their existence, cryptocurrencies with a fixed supply and no monetary policy whatsoever have proven to be unsuitable for real-world use cases. As speculators, we all want to see the value rise, but to make change in the real world, wouldn't it be much better if IOTA had some sort of central bank to stabilize the value? First of all, that's a very important question to constantly ask ourselves. And, since the inception of IOTA, we always had this major question that we always ask, like, how do you cross the chasm to go from this speculative asset, which cryptocurrencies obviously are, to an actual currency that is fungible, that is being adopted in the real world for like Starbucks coffee payments, right? Simple use cases like that. Obviously, there's some adoption happening right now where more sort of the hardcore fans, I would say, early adopters, are using it for payments. But there's no doubt around the fact that right now, it's basically an asset class for you to invest in and for you to generate yield with, right? And I would say that the main intrinsic value of these assets is when they're being utilized to secure a network, which IOTA obviously is one. And within this network, you then have this economic activity which needs to be secured by some value, right? And there's nothing as valuable and as secure and as scalable as the IOTA token within the IOTA network, because it is the native asset within the protocol. And I would say the intrinsic value of the IOTA token in the future will be the way that it helps to secure the IOTA network with mana, right? Because you need to hold IOTA tokens to generate mana, and you need this mana in order to get your share of the transaction throughput, right? So it's like your access control to this scarce resource. And the scarce resource in IOTA is transaction throughput, right? And the IOTA token is the key to that. But in addition to that, I think IOTA will also be the backbone of some of this economic activity that happens within our ecosystem. So for one, it's part of the tokenization. So if you want to have a token as secure as IOTA token, you can color an IOTA token and create a tokenized asset out of that, where you obviously need to lock some IOTA tokens for that. And the second reason is also for some of these applications within the network where the IOTA token is either being used as collateral, for example, for stablecoins, for lending, and so on, or more crazy stuff that might happen within this ecosystem that is being built. When it comes to it being adopted when it comes to the fluctuation in the market, I think all of that will improve over the next few years, especially with more traditional financial institutions entering the market. And it will also change in terms of simple economics, right? More participants entering, more transactions happening, actual adoption happening. And I also think that the IOTA network will be the perfect protocol for stablecoins to be built on, for tokenized assets, right? Asset-backed tokens, all of that stuff can live within the IOTA network and will be powered by the IOTA token as sort of a security mechanism. So yeah, like at the end of the day, all of this boils down to adoption, and we have to really make sure that the IOTA protocol gets adopted in the real world, and there's actual economic activity happening on top of it. So that's really our primary objective, because you could always say, hey, staking is the main intrinsic value of a proof of stake network. But then if you think about it, right, you basically have an asset and you generate a certain percentage on it through staking rewards. But what is the value within this network? What is the value of this token if it's not being utilized in the real world? You're basically running on like, I don't want to say Ponzi scheme, but you're basically running on false promises, because nobody's actually utilizing the token in the real world. And sure, you could say you generate staking rewards 5-10% per year, but what is the value of these assets? Like, who's buying these tokens? Who needs to use them for their use case? And with IOTA, it's very obvious, right? You need the IOTA token to get transaction throughput, guaranteed transaction throughput, and you also need the IOTA token for tokenization and to get basically the most secure and the most scalable asset natively secured, right, with the IOTA token. So yeah, like adoption, right? Adoption will be key to all of this, and that's why we've been really focused on real world adoption and to work with companies on that. Do I think that a central bank to stabilize the value is the answer? I don't think so. I think these decentralized networks really need to play out in the real world, and they need to sort of like fall on their faces, right? We need to fail fast and build fast to really figure out what works and what doesn't. One of the most interesting papers that I read recently was about free banking in Scotland, which is a perfect analogy of what we are doing right now in this crypto space, right? We have all of these crazy ideas, and we're just letting them run free in this global market, and we are testing out we're basically building the future right now, and we're testing out what works and what doesn't in real time, right? We're all part of an experiment, if you think about it. An experiment of how the future should look like. And that's why this space is so exciting, because all of us go into this with assumptions, and all of our assumptions will either be proven or will either be disproven. And the way that we've seen it play out over the last few years is it's really exciting to be at the forefront of all of this, and to really just sort of adapt to some of these market dynamics as well, and to adapt to some of these demands of the market. And I think the way that we at IOTA have adapted is that the IOTA protocol is not just about the Internet of Things. The IOTA protocol is sort of this agnostic infrastructure layer that you can build any sort of economy on top, right? So the machine economy is one of the sort of focus areas of the protocol, but it's not an exclusive focus area of the protocol, because it can also be utilized for the data economy, it can be utilized for identity, it can be utilized for DeFi and for other crazy tokenization use cases. The protocol is agnostic to that, and this is really the way that we also want to further grow the protocol, right? Not just machine economy, but really be a digital infrastructure layer that is being secured by the physical infrastructure, which is IoT. So yeah, we're all part of an experiment. Keep that in mind, which is why it's so exciting. By the way, I just need to turn on the fan, because it's actually warm here in Berlin. I have heard rumors that there will be a blog post on tokenomics. Can you say something more concrete? Token economics is a very important part of any ledger, right? I just discussed it in this question above. We had a lot of ideas on how to basically provide more utility to the IOTA token, because right now, even if we have another really exciting announcement with a large company working with us, I think people really want to see this tangible adoption where they understand how they can utilize the IOTA token in the real world. And this tangible adoption is really provided also through certain token use cases, right? Selling data is the most simple example that goes back to 2017 when we did it for the first time. But there's also other exciting stuff. And we have some pretty exciting ideas on how to enhance the token economics of IOTA, how to provide opportunities to generate yield with actual fundamental ideas, right? Not just chasing hypes. And this is basically what we are working on right now. Most important is exactly what was described here, that the fundamentals of IOTA do not change. Because we still want to have no inflation on the IOTA token. I think that would really disrupt and destroy the project if we now introduce staking rewards, for example. Because the value proposition of IOTA is a very radical one, right? You don't need to have an inflationary currency to keep your network safe. You can actually create a secondary token with no value, which is mana, and which is being utilized to give you access to the transactions throughput of the network. And exactly this radical idea is what makes IOTA so beautiful, because it will make IOTA one of the most decentralized networks out there, where every node is securing really securing the network as well, right? It's leaderless consensus. But what we can do now is we can actually build solutions on top, which provide utility to the IOTA token in certain use cases. And that's what probably the rumors we're talking about. There's no clarity right now, or like no public information on this right now. So we will release that as the time permits. Next question. When we want to use Visa, we don't ask how many TPS they can handle. We know it will just work because they can increase this number. With DLT in general, it seems there's a battle of numbers. But as a user, I don't care if I can handle 1,000 TPS or 10,000 TPS. I want to know if in 5 years, IOTA will work, whatever the size of the network, even if it means 10 million TPS. Will it be the case with IOTA, or will there be a hard cap? That's a very good question, by the way. First of all, I fully agree with you that TPS numbers right now are meaningless, right? If you look at Ethereum can handle 20. Wait, let's actually go to Etherscan. If you look at Ethereum right now, they are doing 1.1 million transactions per day. I think at the height, it was close to 1.7 million transactions, right? And this was like with transaction fees totaling, wait, let me make it bigger. With transaction fees at like $20, $30, right? Like insane amounts. And that is roughly 20, 25 TPS. And the entire economy of Ethereum is like hundreds of billions of dollars. And there's real huge economic value being transferred every day within this network. And that's just 25 TPS, right? So I fully agree with you that TPS numbers are meaningless. However, what we want to do is, first of all, we do not really know which kind of innovation is being hindered by the lack of TPS, by the lack of scalability, and by the transaction fees that are happening on Ethereum. So would there be more innovations on a feeless, highly scalable network? The answer is probably yes. Right? So one, it's about enabling as much innovation as possible and to get as much adoption as possible. But as you already mentioned, these networks and these protocols are continuously improving. And we at IOTA right now, our primary objective is IOTA 2.0, to fully decentralize the network. And then after that, the big goal will be sharding, right? We want to have a network that exactly achieves this goal, to be able to scalable whatever the size of the network and to adapt to it. I think out of all the networks out there today, IOTA is probably the most suitable to really meet the demands of the real world, because we are focused on IoT, we are very lightweight, and most importantly, we are a leaderless consensus protocol. Right? There's no miners, there's no validators, there's no delegators. Everybody in the network has the same right and also abides by the same rules. And that makes IOTA a much more suitable protocol to meet these demands of the industry and to grow with it. Will it happen in the next 5 years? I don't know. I can't give any guarantees, but obviously we have a really large and really talented team that is really focused making sure that IOTA meets these demands of the real world, and to enable all of you to build a use case that you envision. So yeah, will it be the case that IOTA? So initially, IOTA will have a hard cap without sharding, at several thousand TPS, and only with sharding, we're not going to have any hard cap anymore. What happened to the idea of the more transactions on a network, the faster it gets? I vaguely remember hearing Hans suggest that this feature aspect of the Tangle is coming back. With a coordinator network, that doesn't work, right? Because it really works with what Hans described with the pure untangled voting scheme. Obviously, there you still have a transaction throughput limit. Either the network propagation, right? How many transactions can you actually propagate in this network without nodes falling behind and falling out of sync? And in order to really achieve this, we definitely need to have sharding implemented. But I think IOTA 2.0 really comes, or like the untangled voting version of IOTA 2.0 comes closest to the statement as well. So yes, it's definitely something we are working on. That is the question. Hello, maybe you can give us an update. What's the current status with your cooperation with TU Vienna and Pantos, aka CDLbot? Didn't you mention some possible news for Q2? Yeah, so actually, funny enough, we have a call on Friday to do an IOTA AMA. So what we're probably going to do is maybe we're going to do like a thread, like a Reddit thread, where all of you can ask questions to the team, like about the work that we're doing. And then together with the TU Vienna and with the Pantos team, we're going to do like an IOTA AMA, like we're doing right now, where all of you can ask questions. There's been some, right now, what we did is like we expanded sort of the research collaboration with another university. So there's been some bureaucracy involved, but the work is well on its way and is continuing. When it comes to the IOTA side, our main objective there is to finish the EVM integration with IOTA smart contracts. Because with that, we can then enable these cross-chain asset transfers with Ethereum. So once the EVM is integrated, we want to work on this compatibility with Pantos and with the work that the TU Vienna built, and to then hopefully soon allow you guys to actually try out these asset swaps, right? Because it has to be tangible, as I said before. So yeah, we'll do an AMA with the team soon, so all of you can ask them questions. And then we can take it from there. Next question. Ooh, this is why is this one 46 minutes in, by the way? It had the most upvotes. How did they rank this? Ranked by best. Huh. You know, Reddit is sometimes really weird. I really dislike this this navigation bar here. It's kind of not useful. Why was the communication on the ledger migration so freaking bad? I'm a long-term supporter for IOTA, but some people sitting on 100 plus GI and they can't access it. Can you be more transparent and tell your team to be more transparent? First of all, I deeply apologize for what happened there. It was definitely a fuck up on our side, and maybe to explain a little bit what happened, right? And I'm not trying to justify the bad communication. I'm just trying to explain, right? The entire foundation is constantly understaffed. Even with like 110, 120 people, there's so many things that we're doing at once that it's sometimes really difficult to deliver things on time predictably. And when it comes to something as big as Chrysalis, there were resources, there were like team members working on different projects at the same time, right? Like, for example, the client libraries and the Firefly wallet. And with like one or two team members leaving right after the Chrysalis launch, it became really difficult for the Firefly team to deliver the most important milestone, which was the ledger migration, right? And then there were some holidays involved. There were some people that had the important other time commitments that just made it impossible to really deliver on time. And I think the worst thing that we did is not to communicate constantly, because we sort of internally still believed, yeah, we're going to meet that timeline in the next 2 weeks. 2 weeks turn into 4 weeks, turn into 6 weeks. And then suddenly you're in this terrible situation where you're like, damn, we didn't actually communicate over the last 6 weeks, right? And this is definitely a lesson for us as well, that especially for anything that's related to the token, like token holders, right? It's more important to communicate more than less, and really communicate a lot more. What we're probably also going to do is we are going to update the status page. This page here, the status IOTA page, where some of these very important topics really get the prominence they deserve, right? So for example, Firefly, ledger migration, we would then really update you guys here constantly. So we're going to overhaul this afterwards. Where do we stand right now? First of all, we have, I think, 2 or 3 more team members joining the Firefly team. So we're in a much better spot there. We released the ledger migration to the X teams, which is like a community team that is focused on testing the migration and testing the software together with us a few days ago. So we released it to them a few days ago. Right now we are going to test for a couple more days, and then hopefully soon we'll be able to release it to all of you, because this is the token, right? The most valuable asset in our lives. We have to be absolutely sure that there's no bug and that there's nothing that can go wrong. And so I think we should rather take a little bit more time than less time when it comes to the testing. But I think we should be on a good track there, and the feedback so far has been really good. So there's no like major bugs or things that are missing. So yeah, like maybe end of this week we'll give another status update on where we stand with the testing, and then we can also provide more accurate timelines when it comes to the release. So yeah, like we definitely fucked up here with the communication, and I just really hope that all of you, like, I know it's kind of a shitty situation when it comes to the Chrysalis network upgrade, because we should not diminish the achievement of Chrysalis and the importance of Chrysalis because of the lack of exchanges and because of the lack of the ledger upgrade, because both of those things we're going to solve, right? Chrysalis is a monumental network upgrade for us. We got rid of all the bad stuff, and we like integrated all of the amazing new concepts, protocol, algorithms, and all of the stuff that really makes IOTA useful and ready to build on. So like just for you guys to keep in mind that yes, the ledger situation was bad, yes, the exchange situation is bad, but please don't diminish the achievement of Chrysalis, because it's really huge and it's really important for us in this next rollout and this next phase. And you can see it with the adoption, right? All of the companies that we work with, they're really excited to work with us, and there's definitely been an increase of adoption happening there. So let's stay focused, and let's make sure that these problems never happen again. So yes, I'll tell the team to be more transparent. I think Charlie also gave like an explanation, right? Oh yeah. He also, like, this is also like his side of. By the way, this was pretty funny. Charlie had to go to a compulsory jury service in June, exactly in the midst of the Firefly work. So it was quite unfortunate. And like, if you don't go to the jury service, I think you can go to jail or something like that. So it wasn't great timing. So the UK government, blame the UK government on the ledger delay. I'm obviously joking, by the way. Do you plan to create a platform like Kickstarter where people can expose their projects based on IOTA and others can fund them or vote for them if such a platform can be used for treasury? I think there's already one being built or has been built. It's called Up. Well, wait, wrong button. It's called Up, and it was developed by the community. I think it's going to launch in the next few weeks. To answer your question shortly, yes, that's definitely something that should be built. It should not be built by us because we focus on providing opportunity, right? We cannot, we should not build stuff like this because this is really something that the community should either build as a DAO, right, as a decentralized autonomous organization where there's like a website front end and there's different communities, different DAOs that can then fund startups and projects or tokens, and do it in a more neutral way, right? We as the IOTA Foundation, we cannot fund such projects and we should not fund such projects, but I'm definitely certain that such launchpads, as they're called, will be built on IOTA. So yeah, and we can also use the treasury for that, I think. Potentially use the treasury if the community decides. Could the common e-euro from the ECB affect the development and spread of the IOTA network? I read in some articles that the e-euro maybe will have abilities like M2M and other IoT parts. Short answer is no. We do not perceive central bank digital currencies as competitors. I actually think that they will increase the adoption of crypto because if you have a very efficient way to transact, it makes the exchange and it also makes it easier for people to get into these crypto economies. A CBDC, as it's called, like central bank digital currency, is serving a certain use case. And the use case is how do we improve the existing highly regulated and highly connected banking financial sector and make it work better, right? It's not going to focus on the use cases that we are focused on with IOTA, which really is this permissionless innovation where anybody can utilize our protocol, where anybody can build on top of our protocol. I would also argue that something like the CBDC, like a CBDC, is not going to launch anytime soon. Even though there's a lot of talk about it, there's a lot of excitement about it, it's not going to launch anytime soon because of these regulatory concerns and also because of the current concerns on how to get it adopted, how to get the existing banking sector upgraded. So yeah, don't be worried. It will only help us in that regard. What we are focused on with IOTA is really to be this digital infrastructure layer that can help to launch some of these stable coins, can help to launch some of these CBDC coins, because the way that they want to have their ecosystem be built is it should be interoperable, right? You don't want to be locked out of this amazing ecosystem that we are building. You really want to be able to connect to it and to build on top of it. And what we have with IOTA smart contracts is a way to have permissioned, right, private smart contracts that are able to communicate with permissionless open smart contracts. So you could think about a stablecoin that is being issued by a bank is able to be utilized within this global ecosystem that is being built on top of IOTA. So yeah, we are focused on rather adopting them than being disrupted by them. And at the end of the day, things always take longer than you expect. It's like a golden rule, by the way. With the ongoing research into untangled voting with FPC on a set, can you explain to the community why these changes differentiate IOTA 2.0's develop implementation from the rest? Will a peer-reviewed paper be released? And there's definitely going to be peer review on this. There's already been a lot of work on it that we've done internally. I think Sergey and Sebastian already wrote the paper. I can highly recommend you to read this document here as well. And if you have input, always feel free to reply here. We really would love to get a lot more feedback also from you guys on our research and everything. So we really enjoy the conversations on Tangle Math. How does the solution differentiate? It's basically a lot more secure than previously, and also more scalable, because we don't need to wait for the voting rounds to happen. And we really perceive this to be the best possible implementation of a distributed ledger, right? And that's always been sort of the objective with the Tangle. And when it comes to all of the differences, I think that's best explained by Hans or by Billy, because there's also some stuff that I don't know yet, because I wasn't part of the research discussions. So I think what we should be doing is once they're back from their holiday and once the specs are sort of updated, we should do an IOTA AMA just on IOTA 2.0, right? Just on the features, how it differentiates, and also why untangle voting is so exciting for all of us, and why we're so excited about it, right? So yeah, if you have questions about it already right now, just ask here on the thread or ask on Discord. Next question. Let's do like 2 more. I don't know how full-time streamers do it, by the way. Like, how can you do this for 4 hours? I need a coffee. What does the Gaia X partnership mean for IOTA? What is the best case that could come out of that collaboration? It's huge. It cannot be understated how important it is, because we are being adopted by very serious government entities and being taken serious in that regard, right? Us as a very viable partner, first of all, right? The main reason why we are able to get these government grants, why we're able to be taken serious by these huge institutions, is because we are a German nonprofit foundation, and it is because we have a lot of credibility and a lot of trust in the market. We've worked with many big companies, we've worked with governments, and they really like working with us because we are sort of this trusted party that they can rely on. And we've shown significant tech progress. We've shown great leadership also in the DLT space, right? And that's why we're also getting a lot more adoption from the government side. So from my perspective, it's really amazing to see this happening. We have Gaia X and several working groups there. We have some other big stuff happening on the European level. We have grants funded by the European Commission. And that just shows you that we are really on a great track when it comes to real world adoption. And when it comes to Gaia X specifically, it's basically the German cloud initiative to be independent of cloud providers in the US and other countries, and to set up a new digital infrastructure for Europe. And IOTA is being one of the players that participates in some of these working groups to showcase the use cases and to come up with sort of a technical architecture for this digital infrastructure. So as you can guess, IOTA digital infrastructure, Gaia X digital infrastructure, it's like a perfect match. And so we are very excited to work there. The work will start, I think, October, November. So once we get started, once we have progress, we'll obviously keep you guys updated as it happens. And hopefully with this, you will also see a lot of tangible real-world adoption. Obviously, there's going to be like test beds for mobility, and there's going to be some work there. But it's really real-world adoption, right? This isn't something that other protocols could do, and you really need to have the credibility in the market to do that. So the best case is like government adoption, right? Being adopted, being recognized by governments, and to be the base layer for these solutions to build on, right? That's the objective. And by the way, in all of those, we're pushing IOTA, we're pushing digital identity on IOTA, we're pushing IOTA smart contracts. And sort of this package as a whole is really what compels them to work with us, because we have this modular architecture where you can choose, where you can decide what you want to build with, which is really exciting, and which is what most of them really like. Yeah. So yes, you're going to hear a lot more in that area. have you heard of any German institution actively investing in crypto, IOTA or others, since the new law passed, allowing companies to hold crypto? First of all, I haven't yet. We have increased our engagement in Germany, especially when it comes to institutional investors. That stuff takes time. We don't know yet what will come out of it, but we're quite hopeful. Once we know more, we'll obviously keep you guys updated. But right now, we don't know of much in that regard. Obviously, big announcement was that the Deutsche Börse, which is like the German stock exchange, bought crypto finance, bought the majority of crypto finance, which is a close partner of IOTA. So I think that's a very exciting play here because, as you can guess, new law in Germany, regulated custodian, regulated broker. It's like a match made in heaven. and IOTA is part of crypto finance's offering. So I think these things just take more time. And right now it is July, August. Everybody in Europe takes August off, right? Which is pretty good. So let's see what happens in September, and then we can take it from there. So I'll do one last question. So basically, what is the real value of the IOTA token? Didn't I already answer that question? The Tangle is great. It will probably be used by many companies, but due to volatility, it seems to me that the token will most likely not be adopted for transactions between machines. So even if the IOTA Foundation and the Tangle succeeds, how could that increase the value of the token besides speculation? I definitely think that IOTA token will be adopted also for machine-to-machine payments, because there's nothing that comes close to it, right? It is the most secure and is the most valuable asset within the IOTA network, right? It secures the network here. But the big difference is that IOTA token is permissionless. You don't need to have any KYC verification. You don't need to have any sort of permissioning. You can just utilize the token and transact with it, especially when it comes to an IoT environment where there's no low connectivity, where there is basically disruptions happening in the networks. The IOTA token is the main asset that you have to utilize in order to transact. And the other question I already answered before, and what gives the IOTA token its value, basically securing the network and guaranteeing your transaction throughput. So yeah, there's a lot more questions here, by the way. We should do like a 20-minute break in between. Let me do a few more. Shipping industry offers many opportunities for IOTA. Are there already any connections to the maritime logistics sector? And maritime logistics, that's interesting. We don't have anything there yet. I'm not sure if some of you have missed it today, but we had a very big announcement that we are continuing our work in Africa, and we're actually expanding our work in Africa. So this is a very, very important announcement today, that we are basically hiring more people in Africa right now, from 3 people to 7 people, potentially more. And it's with Trademark East Africa, which is basically like a trade union or a trade support agency in East Africa to support trade. And what we're focused on there is paperless, digitized, and trustless trade. Right? It's a huge, huge market, because if you look at the market there today, 96 documents have to be filled out in order to participate in global trade, right? If you're in Kenya and you want to become an entrepreneur and to ship your products globally, you have to fill out nearly 100 documents in order to get it shipped. And that's really crazy. And it's a perfect area for us to solve a really fundamental problem that is holding back people, and where our technology can not only solve a problem, but where our technology can really empower people to be entrepreneurs, to participate in the global economy, and to provide value. with their products, with their services, and so on. So we are really proud to expand our work in Africa. This is really one of those moments that we live for. That's why we built IOTA, for it to be utilized in the real world. And so make sure to read the blog post. Make sure to watch the video as well. This is basically set up as a pilot project. Now we are expanding it to go internationally. So these shipping containers, these goods, are being secured with the IOTA ledger. All the documents are stored on the IOTA ledger and are shared through that, and are secured through that, right? So yes, supply chain is a big focus of ours, and we're definitely very excited to continue on with that project. In the future, it will be, next question. And in the future, it will be relatively easy to create stablecoins on top of IOTA. Why would anyone use the IOTA token over a USD or Euro stablecoin? Is there any future of the IOTA token besides the generation of mana and colored coins? Those, like, when it comes to the IOTA token, it will be utilized within this economy that is built on top, right? You can utilize it for collateral, you can utilize it for lending, but there's nothing as secure, there's nothing as scalable and as feeless as the IOTA token within the ledger, right? So while stablecoins are really going to be a major focus for us, and tokenization in general is going to be a major focus, right? Gold-backed stablecoins, asset-backed stablecoins, we definitely perceive the IOTA ledger as the perfect ledger to represent these tokens. But there's nothing as secure as the IOTA token, as I already mentioned. And so the IOTA token is really the primary way to transact within this network as well. So I wouldn't call this cannibalizing. I would really call this more really drastically increasing the use cases and the potential, right? We want to be $1 trillion economy, and the way to become $1 trillion economy is to really have a protocol that becomes a standard and that is being utilized for a variety of use cases. As I said before, IOTA is not just about the machine economy. It's one of the focus areas, but we really perceive the IOTA protocol to be perfectly fit to be adopted in many different use cases. So I think this question I already answered. So we went through some good questions. Maybe what we're going to do is we're going to have another AMA session, I think at the end of July, together with Kuhn, who is like our security advisor, and together with some special guests, where we're going to talk about cybercrime and where we're going to talk about some updates on what's been happening behind the scenes. I'll also try to do maybe another AMA session, or we'll try to wrap up with an IOTA talk the month of July. August is off, right? Most people will be off in August. But I think we will go into September with a very energized team and with a clear focus on moving forward with IOTA 2.0, with increasing the usability of the Chrysalis network, extending it with tokenization, extending it with new features, and to get IOTA adopted in the real world, right? That is really where we excel at and where we've really shown clear progress. So I hope that all of you have a good rest of your Tuesday. Make sure to join our Discord. Make sure to participate in the discussions there. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to us. And without further ado, have a good rest of your evening and see you guys soon. Bye-bye.